Namaste to everybody. This is Dr. Omprakash Gupta. I am a professor at University of Houston downtown in Houston, USA. I teach management and I also have similar interest, equal interest in our scriptures, Indian scriptures, and primarily Ramayana. So first, I want to congratulate you for organizing this conference on International Women's Day, and with the theme of the conference as women leaders, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. I also want to thank Maharaja Suheldev University, its officers, vice chancellor, and everybody else for giving me this opportunity. I'm in Houston, several thousand miles away from you. I wish I could be there in person and meet with you, but that's not possible. But technology makes it possible for us to meet and share our views. So today I will talk to you about, and this is the topic I gave to organizers: leadership traits of women from Ramayana era or from Ramayana era. So as you know, and everybody is familiar with the story of Ramayana. Ramayana is a story of Ram, Lord Ram, Bhagwan Ram, as you may think about him. And primarily it is driven by his journey or his deeds or his charitra or his leela in the entire story of Ramayana. However, we need to today address the issue of women. And of course, there are many women in the story of Ramayana, and most primarily his wife, Sita. If you want to talk about other women or even Sita herself, it is a subject for hours of discussion, and obviously, I don't want to take all your day. So I'll be very, very brief, maybe 10 minutes or 15 at most, and share few things that may be appropriate for this conference. When we read Ramayana or try to understand Ramayana, it doesn't look like Sita as a leader. She doesn't look like who is exerting any leadership qualities or demonstrating leadership qualities. And that is primarily because of our mindset that it is the men who are the leaders, not the women. And we will soon see it is not a very appropriate thinking. Particularly in case of Sita, it seems like she is always a follower of Ram and not a leader. And we'll see that this is also a myth. And same kind of story goes with many other women of Ramayana, but we will not have opportunity to discuss all of them. So let's go back to Sita. As we know, what most of us, or majority of us, think about Ramayana, we think about Sri Ramcharitmanas, written by Goswami Tulsidas some 450 years ago, about. Though the first ever written story of Ram is by none other than Maharshi Valmiki, who wrote whatever is now known as Ramayana, and what Goswami Tulsidas wrote is now known as Sri Ramcharitmanas. But this later became so popular among masses. Most of us, when we use the word Ramayana, we are really referring to Sri Ramcharitmanas. And when we refer to Ramayana, we normally have to call it Valmiki Ramayana to distinguish from the Goswami's work. So in both stories, there are some similarities and some differences, but that is not the topic for today's discussion. Whichever Ramayana we look at, either Valmiki Ramayana or Ramcharitmanas, Sita's role seems to be a secondary role. But as I said a minute ago, that is not quite correct. So let's look at some of the qualities of Sita that makes her a leader. And I'll address just 3 or 4 of them, and then I will close my talk. So first quality of any leader, whether it's a political leader, a dharmic leader, a social leader, or even in home, the leader has to be decisive. A leader should be able to make decision, and leader should be able to stick to his decision, irrespective of what kind of views other people put in front of you. So the first act that we see of Sita is when Ram is given an order to go in exile. The whole story is known to all of us. I'm not going to address that. So it is Ram who has been given exile. Mother Kekai asks him to go to jungle, to forest for 14 years. Sita had no reason to go with him. Nobody asked her to go. She was daughter of a king himself, daughter king herself, and her husband was ordered to go to exile. She could have been in the palace, just lived there, but she didn't. She decided to go with Ram to forest. Now one can say it may be an emotional decision, but then if you read it very carefully, when she hears the news that her husband has decided to go to forest, she makes it very clear she will go with him. Everyone in the palace tries to convince her not to go. Her mother-in-law, Kaushalya persuades her not to go. Even King Darshat himself persuades her not to go. That please stay here because you will be our support while Ram is no more in the palace. But she very politely tells them that it is her duty to be with her husband and to be a support to her wherever he was, in thick and thin. Tremendous persuasion is exerted upon her. All sorts of logic is used, but she wouldn't adhere to any of that. This doesn't mean she is arrogant, but she is decisive. She wants to stand on her own views. Even then, Ram himself tries to persuade her. He tells her what kind of difficulties are there in the forest, how inconvenient it will be for him to deal with and protecting her from all the inconveniences, bad people, rakshasas, and forest animals and the likes. So she tries to persuade her it is her duty to stay at home and take care of her father-in-law and mother-in-law rather than come with him. But then, as I said, she's decisive. She has that quality. She decided that that's the right thing for her, not to stay in palace, but to go with him, and she goes with him, as we all know. Even after some time, when the good wisdom comes back to Kaki and many other people in Ayodhya, people go to Chitrakoot to bring them back to Ayodhya. And there also they try to persuade, and even Kaki, who was the force in expelling them from Ayodhya, tries to persuade her that please you come back, but then she doesn't because she is decisive. So it's a very important leadership trait. We sometimes sarcastically, maybe the male members of society tend to portray women that they are not decisive. They can't make any decision, they're wavering, this, that. But then Sita has proved that she is a very decisive leader. Once she decides, she will be firm on it and execute her decision. So that is number one. Let's take a couple more. Other is the courage. Courage is a very important characteristics of a leader. A leader can go through a lot of rough times, thick and thins. Every time, everything is not rosy. There are challenges in life. A leader has to be courageous, no matter what the circumstances are. During that entire 14 years they were in forest, she went through a lot of inconvenient, uncomfortable times. And what could be worse for a woman that she gets kidnapped by ill people, in this case Ravan. So Raman, the demon, kidnaps her and she helplessly has no choice. While being kidnapped or during her stay in Lanka, under supervision and control of Ravan, she is courageous. She does not heed to any of what Raman says. Think about a woman in Lanka surrounded by all the Rakshasas, demons and demonesses and whatever, what have you. She does not succumb to all the pressures that are exerted upon her. She does not surrender. She stays bold. She stays courageous. So being courageous, maintaining your courage is a big virtue of any leader. A lot of so-called leaders succumb to pressure because they lack the courage and they lack the quality of leadership. So Sita is a courageous woman, a courageous leader of Ramayana era. Couple more things I may talk in the next few minutes. Team player. She is a very important member of the team made of Ram and Sita. There are other members, but Ram and Sita. She supports whatever Ram thinks is right for her entire life. Being a team, this does not mean she is a subordinate to him. She understands, she knows what to do, and she plays her role very well. One way to think about Ramayana, it's a Ram Leela that has been created to teach lessons of morality to society. It was Lord takes incarnation as Ram, essentially to kill Ram, as we all know the story. So, to enact this play, an important part of play is that Ravan kidnaps her. So Ram has a reason, justification to kill him. You cannot just kill him just like that. So Ram did not kill Ravan because Ravan is a bad guy. He killed him because he did something to him, that he's kidnapped his own wife and wouldn't apologize for that. So when he tells Sita that, look, we have to play this game for which we have taken birth as humans. And part of that play is, an important act of that play is that Ravan will come and kidnap you. But then we don't want you to be kidnapped. So what we will do is that we will save you, hide you in fire. So fire is lit, and Sita, it is suggested that Sita, you hide in the fire. So Sita does that as a team leader, right? That's what a team leader, a team player does. For the good of society, they sacrifice themselves. So she hides in Sita, and another, a duplicate, you can say clone of Sita appears, and that is whom Ravana kidnaps. Many don't know this part of the story, that Ravana does not kidnap real Sita. It is a clone of Sita, a chaya or a shadow of Sita that he kidnaps. So that was an act of a great team player, that you are willing to do anything for a worthy cause. You are willing to do anything to support your team. And finally, which I've already kind of addressed in some ways, is being resilient. In the history of mankind, inclusive of womankind, it may be very difficult to find somebody as resilient as you. Being resilient is a very great virtue of any leader. But is resilient that no matter how the times are, good or bad, sukh ke din ya dukh ke din, whatever the situation is, you become firm, you become resolved in your heart that these days will also over and good days will come. So she remains firm no matter what the timings were. When she was in palace, she was happy. When she was in forest with Ram, she was happy. And when she was kidnapped, she was happy. Now you can say, oh, she was not happy, she was crying, but that's part of it. But she never had any regret of doing what. She always was courageous and were resilient. We can keep on going and keep talking about it, but then my talk may become very long. So it is very nice of you to open the discussion on women leaders, women entrepreneurs, and pioneers. There are hundreds and hundreds of examples like that in this world, not just from today. Today we can see, women leaders very clearly, but even hundreds and thousands years ago, if we read our scriptures, we find the women have been great leaders and they had a great influence on the society. So we should not undermine them and underestimate them. So I want to thank all of you for inviting me on this occasion, and I wish you a very happy International Women's Day. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the conference.